going to wait a second for everybody to get back on here. Um, but just to reiterate what we were talking about earlier, um, the thumbnail has to do less with Bitcoin and more about gold. But here's the idea: Bitcoin is a risk-on asset. Gold is a risk-off asset. Anytime there's times of uncertainty, you really want to look at gold as being a good part of your portfolio. You want to look at gold as being something that helps you lock in your purchase power. If there's a ton of money printing going on, if there's a bunch of rebates and stimulus that's going on, if interest rates are being dropped from a higher level way down to near zero, if you're starting to see signs of massive amounts of liquidity being put into a system or into the market, that's where things like Bitcoin came to be and came to go into a much higher price range than where it was originally. So right now, I think what we're seeing with Bitcoin specifically is you're seeing a lot of pressure on it. Hey everybody, you're seeing a lot of pressure on Bitcoin um, for a couple reasons. One, uh, honestly, the only reason I think it went over $100,000 per Bitcoin, Shawn, is because of this whole idea from Trump when he was running as president for the second time here, that they were going to do a crypto reserve. I think that's why it went over 100,000, in my opinion. Now, why is it going down? It's going down because $1.2 billion worth of Bitcoin was stolen off of an exchange. Okay. And that basically caused a reaction where $5 billion worth of Bitcoin was taken away from that, from the market. People have pulled it out. A lot of them have probably sold it too. So it's kind of a freak out reaction to it. But the reality is right now we're not in a very highly liquid state. We've actually had a lot of money being sucked back into the system. There's still way too much out there. That's why we've got inflation going on. But the stimulus isn't, we don't have a stimulus going. We don't have low interest rates right now. And so it starts shifting over to gold. So if you go and look at the charts, gold has outperformed the NASDAQ, the S&P 500, and the Dow Jones in the last 12 months. It's also outperformed gold. Gold's also outperformed Bitcoin. And that's amazing, especially when we're in a Bitcoin bull market. So we're just barely starting into the gold bull market. We don't even have a full confirmation yet, and I don't think we'll get it until we go over 3,000, that there's a capital rotation going from the equities and cryptos into gold. So that hasn't even happened yet. So anyway, that's some of the things that are coming. Those are some of the things that are happening. So what I was saying earlier, and I heard the echo. It's very distracting and hard for me to kind of think. But what's actually happening is gold doesn't go up in value very often. It does sometimes in purchase value. It does go up sometimes. You'll see on the charts that it will outperform inflation, and that usually happens in times of massive uncertainty, like a war starting, or let's just say people lose confidence in the U.S. dollar more quickly. You can see that happen. And so, if you were to put a line that kind of showed the rate of inflation like this, you're going to see that gold will go above it, and sometimes it'll dip down below it, like that. And so, right now we're at a time period where we're starting to go a little bit above that inflation, but we have a lot more to go. So, you'll hear people say, what happens when gold hits 3,000, when it hits 4,000, when it hits 5,000? We talked about it on last Sunday, gold hitting $142,000. The reality is, if for it to hit 100 and okay, for it to hit those higher numbers, it doesn't always mean that inflation is going to be the same. It doesn't mean that inflation is going to kick into that amount of to the extent to where if gold hits 5,000, it's the same exact purchasing power as if it's at 3,000 right now. Okay, it doesn't always happen that way because it can go above that inflation range. So oftentimes what will happen is if the gold is going up in value due to inflation, it stays pretty close to it and then goes up a few percentage points above it. When people have massive amounts of uncertainty and they start to freak out, they start to dive into gold. And then what ends up happening is after you have massive amounts of inflation, you end up having a gold bull run from a capital rotation. You see it run. And so I do think we're getting close to a capital rotation. It's going to happen sometime between now and about a year from now. And when it happens, you're going to see gold getting into the 5 to the 10, potentially even to like the 12,000 or more range. And when that happens, If your income has not kept up with the price of gold going up, you're not going to have as much money to buy the gold, right? Um, Now, a lot of people will say, "Hey, if gold gets to $10,000, who's going to buy my gold?" The LCSs will be out of money. Not necessarily. They'll still be able to buy it at 10,000. I don't think that's going to be a problem. 142,000 if it happens overnight with a revaluation. Yes, they're not going to have 142,000 to go buy that. Things are going to have to adjust. The new money system is going to have to come out. But it's not going to happen like that just overnight. Okay, that's not how these resets go. Um, but I think what you're going to see is this. I think what's going to happen is when gold gets up to $3,000 to $4,000 to $5,000, if we don't have wage inflation going up as well, I think what's going to happen is people are going to have to start buying smaller amounts of gold. So, you may have to go to a half ounce or a quarter ounce or to a tenth ounce or to a gram of gold. I don't recommend buying a lot of grams of gold. I don't recommend buying a lot of tenth ounces. Those are pretty expensive. But if the gold gets to a point where you can't really afford it and you want to buy more gold, and what I mean afford it, a full ounce, which is going to get your best bang for your buck, maybe even a bar more so than a coin. Um, so you're going to have those elements that come into play. And then what happens is people start buying silver. And so I highly doubt you're going to see a $5,000 gold and a $30 silver. I just don't think that's going to happen. Um, I Someone do the ratio for me on that real quick. What would the gold to silver ratio be if you have $5,000 gold and $30 silver? It's going to be well over 100. So we could see it for a period of time. We could see the ratio going over 100, and I think we're heading there right now. But I don't think it's going to stay there for a super long period of time, even if the banks continue to short it. When you start to get gold up in that $5,000 range, there's going to be so much pressure on silver to go higher because a lot of us are going to say, "Hey, I don't want to buy gold right now. I want to buy silver." The ratio will be high, and you'll also be running into um, affordability issues that can cause a short squeeze on silver, and it can break the banks, and we can have bank problems. So those are just some of the things to be watching out for that can come into play. Now, as far as the crypto stuff goes, I did say I would tell you guys a little bit about my philosophy on crypto. So, you know, I've got mentors and I've got a lot of friends that are in gold and silver stackers, and they won't touch gold or silver. Sorry, they won't touch cryptos at all. Some of them don't understand it, and others do understand it well, and they see it as completely gambling. So, a couple philosophies I have on it is this. My philosophy around cryptos is I have some of them just in case I'm wrong. It's a hedge. But most of it is to potentially make some money during the different cycles that happen to go buy more gold and silver with it. And then I like to play with the house's money. So if I can, get a 4x return on a crypto, I can get my original money met back. Plus, I can get a doubling of my money. And then I can have, some cryptocurrency that I just hold on to long term that it doesn't matter what the price does. Um, for me, I like to only buy things that have utility and that have projects that make sense. I'm a technology guy. I just got back from a client today. We were talking about AI technology. That's what I do. I work for a company that sells AI software, and we help companies use AI in a ethical way to help their customers find what they're looking for more quickly. And we do that through offers and other things. So anyway, with that said, I understand technology very well, and some of these cryptocurrencies have a lot of utility to them, and they have a lot of good use. Now, what are they priced at? A lot of them are way overpriced, in my opinion. It's basically like taking a spreadsheet. I mean, this is a crude analogy, but it's like taking Microsoft Excel and finding a way to charge people for a license and then allowing you to basically sell your license to someone else for more money. Okay. So, in a lot of ways, a lot of the cryptocurrencies, when you look at the pricing of them, they do look very much like pyramid schemes. Okay, not necessarily Ponzi schemes. That Ponzi schemes are the meme coins. Okay, there's nothing there. They do nothing. There's no value to them. But a lot of the tokens and coins that are out there, they do have some utility to them. It's really the price that's the issue. Is it really worth that amount of money? Are you overpaying for it? Are you going to get burned? And just know that they only go up in value as people put money in. Now, the same thing happens with gold and silver. Gold and silver really only goes up as people buy it. Okay, it continues to go up and people hold it. So you can kind of use those same arguments back and forth. It's the same with stocks in the stock market. So to me, I do feel like you are gambling with crypto if you're not buying into projects you understand, you've researched, you believe in, and that you see has something real value to it, right? If you're just buying it because your friend told you and you think it's going to go up to the moon and you're going to get filthy rich off of it, you're probably not going to make money from it. You'll probably lose your money. And only a few people can make crazy amounts of money. The rest of them are going to lose it. So, with that said, be very careful if you guys are even thinking about crypto. If you don't understand it, don't do it, in my opinion. I can't give you financial advice here, but there's a lot of hype around that. A lot of people are freaking out about it right now. You may have bought some and you're thinking about hurrying and dumping it because you think it's going to go to zero. Not necessarily, but things will go up and down in cycles. So Bitcoin's at 82,000 right now. It could go into the 70s, could go into the 60s, could go to zero. There is no value to Bitcoin outside of its network. So if we ever have a problem with electricity where we don't have electricity on the planet, or the internet gets shut down by governments, your Bitcoin isn't really useful in that area that you're located where you don't have that. So it can go to zero. Gold and silver will always have some intrinsic value to it, except for one thing. If the only thing people need is food and water and that's it, okay, maybe people would give up their gold for a little piece of food. That'd be short lived. I don't really see that happening. I think it's a very slim chance. Um, the other thing I'll say with crypto is you could see Bitcoin go up to 250,000 still this year. It could still happen. You could have Trump come out and say they're going to buy a ton of it and they're going to back our money with it. Things can happen. But I really don't see that happening. What I see happening more, and then I want to have you chat with us, Shawn, on this too. What I see happening more is this. I see us holding on to the cryptos we have. I see the country eventually going on to some kind of a stable coin digitally when they go to do a reset backed by gold. I don't love the idea. I'd rather just go to a gold and silver currency, not gold and silver as currency, as money again, like we used to, and then have like a digital version of it. So that's a little different than a stable coin or a CBDC. But I think we're probably going to end up on one of those things anyway. And so for me, that's the reason that I put, my money into gold and silver. So I'll dabble a little bit in crypto. I stay away from anything that looks to me like gambling. I don't gamble. I'm looking at projects and I'm looking at it more as an investment in a startup. So I'm very selective on projects I look at. Gold and silver is my savings. It's my wealth insurance. It's what I've got that I'm kind of moving towards. So I just talked a ton, Shawn. What do you think? What's your philosophy? Where do you think gold's going this year? Do you think we're going to get a revaluation? One, two. Do you think we're going to ever get to see gold backing the currency again? Three. Do you think we're going to have a situation where we're going to see tariffs on gold that could drive the price up?
I'll start with number two so I'll go with number one. As far as seeing the price of gold, I mean, yeah, we're in a dip right now. Most markets are in a dip. Bitcoin's down, all the digital currencies down, gold and silver's down, platinum, palladium, everything's all kind of taking a little whatever. I think also people now are just selling because it's at a high, 2,900 and change is all time high for gold, 109,000 all time high for
Profit
Bitcoin.
taking. Yep.
Yeah, so a lot of people are just taking profits, or a lot of people they forget when taxes are due within a month and a half, so people need to pay taxes. Some people got to sell their gold or crypto in order to cover what Uncle Sam wants to take out of your pocket and stuff. So there's a reason for that. But as far as the price goes, I mean, I think it's going to be higher later in the year what it is now. As far as what exact price I have on it, I don't know. I don't want to say put exact number on it. I would say it's probably we could see 3,500. I wouldn't see that would be a stretch. There are a lot of things are going to happen this year. A lot of more executive orders. A lot of things are going to start happening around the world. That's going to start, causing things to start shaking up. Not that they're not already shaking up as it is over the last couple of years, but there's a lot of world countries right now that are about to make major decisions for the future. We just had Keir Starmer and the Prime Minister from UK today, talking with President Trump, and then basically resetting ally relations for what they want to do for the future, and other countries are talking about what they want to do and everyone's all seems to be on its waiting game. Everyone's kind of waiting to see what everybody's doing. That kind of seems but just to be the general markets for everybody. Everyone's kind of waiting to see what happens with Bitcoin. Everyone's waiting to see what happens with gold and silver. I mean, you can wait all you want. It's going to happen regardless if you wait or not. That's why I tell everybody just dollar cost average, buy a little gold and silver, sell it when you need it. The price is irrelevant. It's because if you don't really plan to sell it the next 6 months, then why are you worried about the price? It
Well,
really
Shawn,
it
let's stop there for a second, real quick. I think that's a huge point, right? If gold and silver really don't go up or down, it's the dollar that fluctuates. Okay, we're talking relative, right? It does go up and down compared to the dollar price, but when you look at what it buys you, um, I don't have them with me. They're over on the couch over here, but um, maybe I'll get these out. So keep talking for a second. I'm going to get these out so I can show you
you're
guys.
good. Go ahead. Um, it's where I leave off at. Shoot, lost my train of thought there.
Well, so you were talking about you were talking about
So I'm getting older.
the fact that gold and silver really
Oh yeah, the price not
the
mattering. That's
price.
right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. The price don't mean nothing. It's a fugazi. The price's name is Robert Paulson. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. It's because if you're really holding it for a long term and loading for the hedge, it doesn't matter. If you're really holding it for generational wealth or you're holding it for down the road, it doesn't matter what the price is now or what it was before. If you didn't get it before, tough. Who cares? You weren't there. You didn't get it. You can't live in the past. You have to live in the present and think about the future. And the present is the price is this. If you want to buy it, cool. You don't have to buy it. I think people should just keep on their budget, keep going. It's only like I said, it's only going to keep going up and to the right, and then it'll be at a price that when you sell it, you'll make more, you'll make money, you'll need it, it'll all work out. Um, other countries are buying gold. A lot of countries are taking the gold and what's it called? They're repatriating and they're taking it back. Um, France and Spain and all those guys are all basically taking their gold out of everybody's vaults and putting their own in their own stuff. So, I mean, metals. I mean, you can't go wrong with metals. You can't. Crypto is to me right now. It's online casino. You're walking in there and you're spinning the roulette wheel. You're putting money on double zero green, hoping that it hits 5 times in a row. You have no idea. It's not back. I mean, granted, yes, you can take Bitcoin and buy some stuff with it on like, there's some like for instance, my local coin store offers Bitcoin as a payment to buy gold and silver. It's very rare that the coin store does that. There's a few other places that you can use Bitcoin, but it's a major, thing to be able to use in the market. You can't use it right now. You have to use an exchange. Now gold and silver is the same way too, but gold and silver is universal. It's a tier one asset. But Bitcoin is nowhere near anywhere near being a tier one asset right now. I can't just take Bitcoin anywhere in my travels and be like, "Hey, you accept this as a transfer?" Like, what the hell is you just digital stuff? But if you bring gold and silver, you can take that anywhere around the world and exchange it for real money. Um, I've been telling my friends for years and beating on their brains and just like waterboarding them literally every time I see them. Literally, like, you need to buy gold and silver. Like, buy the gold and silver. You need to buy the gold and silver. Just beating in their brains constantly. Like and and then everybody will get it, but I think when somebody actually buys their first piece, I remember when I bought my first piece of silver, the light bulb kind of clicked. It's like you can't be a black belt first day of class. They always say not everybody has all the information, not everybody's always seeking the information, but
Yep.
I think that for most people when they get involved in this gold and silver bullion world, whatever you want to call it, community, light bulbs start really going on that a lot of people didn't think about. They start looking at their gold and silver as actual real money and not looking at their dollar bills as really like money anymore. I mean, yeah, it's the money that
Yep.
we use into everything in the system, but it's a different look at it because you really can tell. Like, I tell everybody, like, the price is going up is a symptom of your money being worth less. Let me say that again. I tell everybody it's you have to get away from the mindset, and it's all about how you think about things. It's really all things mindset in the world. People have to get around the mindset of they have to stop saying that things cost too much because that in itself they're not really understand the truth. They have to really tell themselves, my money is being worth less.
Yeah. So Shawn, let's stop there for a second. So I get a couple things I want to on that subject I
Yeah.
want to bring up.
Drink break.
Quick thing, we have 65 people watching. We've got only
Yeah.
13 thumbs up. Double
Here's the
tap the
thumb.
screen, and it'll give you
Tap,
guys a thumbs up. Hit that.
tap that. I'm
That'll
fucking
tell them.
elbow
That'll
smashing.
tell the
Get
algorithm that you
that.
guys like it, and it'll go up.
Get it.
So do that. Okay. Here's what I want to show you. This is um, 7
There you go.
$half walking
Milwaukee.
liberties. So
Born this way.
here's the eagle on the
Dun, 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 dun.
verse there. So guess how much these things are worth today?
Thanks, Andy.
Okay, they're 50 cents, right? They were made as 50-cent pieces. Oh, let's see if I got a year on one of these.
1943.
1945.
I was close.
So in 1945, this would buy me exactly 50 cents. Okay. But what would it buy you back then? So what do you guys think these are worth right now? Any guesses? We've got $12. So go ahead and put your guess in there, guys. I want to see what your guesses are. I just found these in my backpack and I pulled them out at my conference I was at, and I showed someone and they go, "Why do you have a bunch of really nasty old coins in your backpack?" And I asked them, I said, "How much do you think they're worth?" They're 50-cent pieces. 50 cents. Nope. And when I told them how much they were worth, they actually weren't amused. They they walked off. So we've got $12, $35. Okay. So
I'm
a
gonna say
dime.
1350.
Yeah, what do you guys think these are going for?
1350. Start auction up. 1325. 13 and a half in the back. Got 14, 14, 14, 14 and a quarter, 15 in the back. 16, 75, 17, $18. Who got a
So what is silver worth right now?
I want to see like 31.75 for conversation.
Okay, so then what's half of that?
The 50, yeah,
About 15 bucks,
50, 90 change, whatever conversation.
right? And then it's 90% silver, so it's going to be a little bit below that. So I'm going to go with about 13
14 bucks.
bucks. That's
Yeah.
about what these would go for. So you guys are pretty spot on. Melt is around 10. Some of these are kind of gnarly. You might have like, look at this one. That one's probably going to go for like, that's probably
Oh,
hard to sell
yeah.
for
That's been loved a lot.
10
That's been all rubbed and everything, all smashed and elbow
Yeah.
smashed, top rope, elbow drops. Yeah.
But here's the thing. This is still money. It's gone from 50 cents to 13 bucks. Okay, let's just say. I can guarantee you that if you buy these today for 13 bucks, you're going to not be able to buy as much stuff as you could have in 1945 with one of these. You would have been able to buy more. And that's because if you bought this in 1945, um, that 50 cents was easier to come by than 13 bucks is today, and you would have been locking in your purchase power, okay, back then. Now it's going to be different. So Will says they're about 23 to 25 bucks. So the walkers themselves might actually have a little bit more of a premium on them, but just in general, the amount of silver that's in there, that's what it's going to get you, right? Melt's going to put you right around that.
Yeah.
So when you look at these kind of things, this is real money. This is real wealth. This is where you're going to have the ability to lock in your purchase power and keep going. So to Shawn's point, it doesn't matter what you pay for gold and silver. It really doesn't. I mean,
Nope.
so many of us are getting caught up in like, it went down 30 bucks. It went up 10 bucks, wherever it went. The
Doesn't matter.
reality is we're probably not going to see gold go back down to 300 bucks again, like it was in 2000. We're probably not going to see it go back down to 500 bucks. We're probably not going to see it go down to $1,000. We probably won't even see it go down to 1,500 bucks. Could we see it go down to 1,800 to 2,000? Maybe. But if it does that, I think we're seeing like a massive, massive crash like in 1929, right? Kind of a
Yeah.
whole stock market crash
Everything
and
stops.
everything
Yeah.
crashed.
The day the world stands still. Yeah.
But if that happens, we're going to go into what's called deflation. And so if gold goes from close to 3,000 down to 2,000 because of a situation like that, you're going to see the dollar menu come back at all the restaurants. You're going to see most of the restaurants go out of business.
Yeah.
Then you're going to see people trying to sell their Mercedes that they spent $70,000 on, that they have a $50,000 loan on the car. or more, and they're basically going to be trying to sell that car for $50,000, and no one's going to buy it, and then they're going to try to sell it for 30,000. They're going to try to sell it for 20,000, like
I'll
things
give
like
him a
that.
dollar. $1.
So $1. So
$1.
as you get into that deflation, you actually realize that, okay, maybe if this goes from $13 down to $8, it wasn't that bad compared to everything else.
Yeah.
But anyway, this is real money. And I didn't know these were even in my backpack. We just did a coin show last Sunday.
Free
Um,
money. You just
and
found some free money.
these were left in here. So anyway, like Shawn was saying, for the most part, I don't do much in the crypto space. I did have cryptos before I had precious metals because I'm a technology guy. And I was buying cryptos back in 2018, and I was aware of them back in 2016. Um, I would love to start my own cryptocurrency for a loyalty program if I had, a business. You could easily do that. I think that's a really good use of things
Yeah,
like
that's a way to
crypto.
do that.
But does that make your crypto worth $50,000? No. So, the biggest caution I give you guys with crypto is stay away from the meme coins. I think those are garbage. Even the utility coins, it's about when you buy things. It's just kind of like real estate. And even with gold and silver to a degree, the sooner you get into things, the easier it is. If you see something that's been around for a long time and the price is super high, don't buy that stuff. It's already kind of too late to do it. um, just about anything out there in the world can be considered gambling, or it can be considered investing. It depends on how much research you've done. It depends on the mindset that you have in it, and it depends on why you're buying it, when you bought it, when you plan to sell it, and for what reason, and what are you going to do with the proceeds. So what bugs me the most on social media about people that do a lot of crypto stuff is it's always about talking about it going to the moon, and I'll tell them, hey,
Yeah.
you should hedge your cryptocurrencies with gold and silver, like this stuff right here. And they go, no, that doesn't make any money. Mine's making more than you. You're going to stay poor. Okay. Those are get rich quick people.
Yeah.
Those aren't investors. They think they're just going to go get rich. And most of them are little kids. Um, and
Pigs get rich, hogs get slaughtered.
if you're under
Pigs
30,
get
you're a little
rich,
kid.
hogs get slaughtered.
So I would stay away from any of that kind of stuff. Bitcoin, I think I have like $30 of Bitcoin or something like that. I don't have very much. I've sold my Bitcoin and I bought gold, and I sold it well before it had the big run up. Now I know there's a couple prominent stackers that do a lot of cryptos and they've made a lot of money, and it's helped them buy, you know, more than this many ounces of gold. So more than 7 ounces of gold and stuff like that, and they've done well with it, and that's great if they know what they're doing and they can pull it off. My issue is I want to make sure my money's very sound and secure, in that um, it's in a position where I'm able to shore up my house and other things. Maybe I lose a job, who knows? So that's where I put most of it. Now, when I look at things like net worth, only 6% of my net worth is in precious metals um, recently, and I think I've now moved it up to closer to 10%. That's about where I'm probably going to stop. I may go as high as 20% um, down the road, but that would be the max for me. I wouldn't go more than that unless I felt like everything was about to completely crash and nothing's going to happen. And that would be if I don't need any of those assets for income, and I can sit on the gold and silver for the next 10, 20 years. If you guys have fixed income, if you need extra cash and money that's coming in, you want to be in things that are producing cash flow, like dividend stocks, real estate, um, CDs and bonds. Now, for me, I'm not touching a CD and I'm not touching a bond because I don't trust the banks right now. So I only have enough money in the banks to run for 30 days of my businesses and my personal life. Everything else is either cash or precious metals outside of that. My crypto represents a fraction of a percent. Okay. I don't have very much of that. Um, and for me, like I said, it's based on some projects that I think could actually do well and take off. And because this is not a crypto channel, I don't really get into that too much. But I did find it very interesting that when I actually pulled the numbers looking at it in my Uber on the way to the airport, well, I'm in a hotel by the airport. I've got a flight out tomorrow. Um, I found it very interesting that gold and silver have outperformed Bitcoin in the last 12 months, and they have outperformed the three big stock indices in the last 12 months. That's telling. And as Shawn said, it's not a good sign, it's a bad sign. Shawn, tell us again, what does that mean if gold and silver is outperforming other asset classes?
Means you need to put the money in where the short things are. Slowly starting to wake this age of awakening and a real, greed and gambling is not the great way to get like sustainable and to put themselves into like positions of like solidarity channels and people being needing to wake up and realize that, like, hey, I lost a bunch of money in my 401k since 2020.
Yeah.
Not doing what I wanted. It's everyone's always worried about how much money they're not making or how much money they could have made. It's irrelevant. It's
Well,
anyway.
to that point though, Shawn, it does become irrelevant. I mean, you know, I bought a bunch of Apple stock in between real estate transactions. I had $50,000 in my bank account. I'm like, what am I going to do with this? I put it all onto Apple stock. It would be equivalent to Apple being, I think, about $2, based on all the reverse splits that they've done. And it was right after the iPod came out, before the phone came out. Maybe a little bit after the iPod. So I think it was like 2004 or
2007.
five. And I was in
Okay.
between houses. So must have been 2005. And I was able to hold on to it for a couple months. And I kept until we found a house. It was a down payment towards a house. And I kept buying and selling, and it was in a channel. So I could make 2 or 3% on it going up and down. And I was able to make a quick $20,000 profit off of 50 grand. It was great.
Nice.
I could see that there was an advantage to holding onto that stock, and I knew it was going to do better. I had no idea an iPhone was going to come and all the other stuff that came with it.
Yeah. Right.
And at the time, you know, I needed the money to go back into buy a house. So we bought a house, and I didn't go leverage myself or go buy Apple on a credit card or do any of that kind of stuff. Now, had I could have made a ton of money off of that. It went way up. But I don't. That's not how I go. I don't gamble with the stuff. I don't put myself into those crazy positions and things. So, um, you know, when you look at it, a lot of it comes down to it really just comes down to building and accumulating, right? So it all starts with buying one piece of silver, and then you buy two, and then you can ping them. See if I can do it.
Nice.
Kind of hear that. And then you start to get a little pile of it, and then you get enough silver where you say, hey, maybe I want to get some gold. And it's a good way to save. But I also caution a lot of you guys, because I know some of you have done this. Don't overbuy the metals too. That's why I tell you, I'm not 100% of my net worth is in gold and silver. I wouldn't do that. And the reason for that is gold and silver doesn't make any yield. It doesn't produce anything. I have to sell it to make money off of it. So for me, I need to make sure that I have other ways of making money, having income come in, all of that kind of stuff. And so it's usually just a fraction of what I have, and then from there, um, I continue to add. But I've heard of some people in the community buying so much silver that like recently, and then they have an emergency that comes up, and they have to go sell it, and they end up losing like 20 to 40% of what they put into it. Don't do that. So I always
Guilty of
recommend
that.
having 3 to 6 months worth of cash for emergency funds, and that's for expenses, not how much you make in a month. I recommend having anywhere from a month to a year's worth of food storage, having as much water storage as you can possibly muster. Ammunition's important, in my opinion. Having guns is important for self protection, potentially for hunting. You need to have good shelter. You need to have other emergency supplies that can produce electricity or that you can burn to have a fire. And there's a lot of things that can go into that. And silver and gold are part of it. But I can tell you, if we have an SHTF, unless it's only a financial one, um, and even with a financial one, you're not going to be using gold and silver tomorrow. You're going to be using paper dollars. People will use those until they realize it doesn't mean anything. And then eventually they'll move into gold and silver. But even before then, they'll start using things like beans and rice if there's a food shortage. If there's a fuel shortage, you'll be using a gallon of gas could be worth more than a gold eagle. I mean, it just depends on what the situation is. So one thing I did want to point out, and then I got another question for you, Shawn. So
Sure.
someone had mentioned in here, I think it was Will,
Just
but I
trying to
can't
watch the chat.
I can't find it now. But anyway, um, when you look at cryptos, another thing that comes into play, and this goes, gold has risks, so does silver, but they're pretty minimal. Um, when you look at cryptos, there are a lot of risks that can happen. It is technology. You can have a better technology come out, but one of the things is that was mentioned in here is the quantum computers. The chips are getting better and they're getting better faster, and the AI is getting better and it's getting better a lot faster, guys. Like I can't even explain to you what the world's gonna look
Scary.
like in 2030, but you're not
Skynet.
gonna recognize it. And I don't mean looking outside that everything's flying cars. Okay, I don't mean that. What I mean is you're not gonna recognize AI. You're probably gonna see videos of me and Shawn on YouTube that we don't even create. That some AI finds our faces, creates all of this stuff, and it goes. You can do that today. From is my understanding is you can actually create an avatar that looks like a real person, and they can basically have two of them going back and forth and have a full-on chat and do a podcast. Now, I don't think it does video yet with that, but it's getting close. The technology is there. I just don't think someone's put it all together yet. But I guarantee you, within 5 years, there will be YouTube channels that you're watching on gold and silver that do not exist. The people aren't real. And probably even the content that's being shared is just another version of all the stuff that goes out here on YouTube. Quantum computing, though, when that does come out to in full force, it's not just crypto that's not going to be safe. Your passwords aren't safe. Your bank accounts aren't safe. Um, the your social security number is not going to be safe. Like quantum computing could be a very risky, bad thing for anything that's secured digitally. Even your photos on your phone. Okay, no matter where they're at, if they're in a hidden folder or if they're on the cloud, all of that stuff is subject to risk if the quantum computers are in the wrong hands and people use them to try to hack passwords and get into things. Yes, there's some things cryptos can try to do to shore that up, but it's going to be like a whole new Cold War all over again, where you try to create something and it goes back and forth. But anyway, I wanted to hit that. Some of you guys were talking about the flowing hair dollar coins. I don't know what you were asking though. But anyway, I
When you
saw that
talk
on here. Oh, here we go. What are
yeah,
your thoughts on the flowing hair dollar coins? I have a gold and silver one that I bought as an investment. I'm having a hard time selling it. I wouldn't buy them. They're really cool looking, but I think I'm going to be sitting on those for a little bit.
that
Um,
whole market. Sorry,
that market's going to be
I want to say
done
it
for
so
now
bad.
for a while.
I, I want to say it so bad, and I'm probably gonna take a bullet in the face for it too. I'm gonna say it. I don't care.
Say it.
I'm just gonna. Don't worry, it's PG. You're not gonna get canceled. I'm gonna say it. Apparently, I've been saying a lot of first recently, and I appreciate people recognizing that. I think that whole flowing hair, anything from the mint, is gambling market. I'm sick of it. I'm done. There's, I think there's
They've set it up that way.
too,
They have set it up
too
that
many
way.
collector pieces that they're putting over 100,000 out. The scarcity means nothing. They're selling this product to people to try to, like, hey, you might be able to get this and you might be able to flip it and make a bunch of money, but you're not guaranteed to get the privy mark. They're selling the hunt of getting rich more than they are selling the fact that you need to buy this because it's real money.
But Shawn,
The greed is into the community to the point where I'm seeing it, and it's
yeah,
like, I don't want to bash anybody for doing channels about it. I'm not hating on it. I'm just telling people I see the community turning into something that I think it's taking from what it originally was supposed to be about. Stacking for the future instead of collecting a bunch of stuff that you're going to put on your shelves. It's going to sit there for years and you're going to sell it at a 40% loss when you go sell it. I've seen it happen too many times. I'm personally guilty of it too. And I'm saying this because I don't want it to happen to anybody new coming into to this community, or anybody that's thought about maybe trying to go and buy these collectible coins to flip it. Now, if that's what you want to do, I hope it works out. I truly do.
well,
But for
but
the
Shawn,
most part,
to
I
your
think
point,
it's a waste of money, in my opinion.
if you're going to
Sorry.
buy anything
My
gold or
soapbox.
silver,
That was it.
yeah, if you're going to buy anything gold and silver to flip and make money, that's not your stack. Okay, that's like an investment that you're doing. It's the same thing with buying a piece of real estate. It's the same thing with buying a lot of other assets that are out there in the world. You need to know what you're doing. You need to understand things. We did by the way, someone was on here, Crypto Pimp. We'll talk about $142,000 gold here in just a minute. We did a whole video on that on Sunday, but we'll come back and talk about that again in a minute. Um, I've got my deep stack and I don't touch that. In my deep stack, I'm starting to maneuver and switch out coins. I'm going with um, inexpensive rounds. Okay, so I've got like a bunch of Aztec rounds. I've got um, Julius
Buffalo.
Caesar
Yeah.
rounds that are pretty cool looking that I bought for the price of buffaloes. I've got buffaloes. I have trade units. This is all silver. I bought around $25 or less per ounce for
Nice.
and I've only been doing this for a few years, but that's part of my deep stack. I've got Silver Eagles, I've got a few Maple Leafs, and a few Britannias. But I'm going a little heavier in Silver Eagles because there is a chance that we could see um, those become exempt from capital gains tax and other things like that. And right now, that might not seem like a very big deal to you when you're buying a Silver Eagle for like $36, $37. But when that Silver Eagle becomes worth $1,000, capital gains could be a bigger issue. Now, it may not happen. So I'm not buying them at retail. I'm buying them below retail when I buy Eagles. Um, and I'm selling some of the more expensive stuff. Like Shawn said, I got into fun collectible stuff when I first started buying gold and silver. And I've been selling a lot of that at coin shows and on eBay. Now, the flowing hair for me was something that was kind of an investment thing. We did five of us did a live
Yeah.
stream, and we each got a flowing hair, and I pulled a privy, and so that coin went from $109 up to being worth $6,750. So $6,750 because it has collectability to it. Now, would I pay that much for that coin? No, I wouldn't do that. So we flipped it. We all made $1,000 off of it. It was great. Now I was able to get another flowing hair coin, and I've got a gold one. I can sell the gold one and I can sell the silver one at break even for me instantly. I've got it up. I'm going to be putting it up for a little bit higher, and we'll see what happens. Now, I did make a little bit of a educated guess and bet on it that it would be something that would have some more value and would go up higher, and it hasn't totally paid off. That can happen. Sometimes you can start a business and it doesn't totally work out. Sometimes you can buy a piece of real estate and find out that there's a problem with it. Things
Yep.
like that happen. But that's part of my investment. I can take a loss on it as well if it doesn't go the right way. Now, I've done the same thing with coins like Queen's Beast flowing hair, Queen's Beast collector completer coin. So I bought a couple of those, and I was able to sell those for $1,000 over spot price on eBay. Now, did I buy them for that reason? No, I bought them for lower than a gold eagle, and I held on to them. And when I could, I sold them for $3,000 when gold was at $2,000. I felt like I made a great amount of money off that. So I have an eBay store. I also sell them. I sell coins at coin shows, and we make money from that. I can go do that. I can afford to take a little bit of a loss on a flowing hair gold coin because it's a business for me. If you think you're just going to go buy something like that is overpriced, I think they came out at like $4,500 for the coin.
Yeah. It was
Um,
something crazy.
that's really high. So don't go do that if you don't already have like 30 ounces of gold and you don't have 2,000 ounces of silver. Okay.
Or even a buyer lined up in
But
advance.
but even if you have less than that, you have no business going and buying that stuff, in my opinion. If
Yeah.
you've got a lot more than that and you've got millions of dollars, or you are starting a business and you're trying to have
Still
great
need to.
products that bring people to your table and things like that, then you can do it. But Shawn's right on that. You don't want to get in the mess of that. Okay, so let's go back, Shawn. I want to get your answer on this
Yeah.
too. So we've got Crypto Pimp in here. I don't know Crypto Pimp, but he's in here and he
So
was asking us a
probably cool
question
dude.
on $142,000 gold. So um, what's your thoughts on $142,000 gold? Are we going to see it? And if we see it, what's going to happen?
I think at that point we're probably under some World War III scenario, probably, or under some new Civil War that movie just came out last year scenario. Um, I mean, that just goes to show if gold's $142,000 an ounce, it means our dollar bills are donezo. It's Kaputskis, it's thin air, it's Fugazi, it's sayonara, das vidania, it's over. Game over, man. Game over. It's done. So no more quarters to put in the machine. No more extra lives. No more up, down, now, left, right, BA, select, start. Done. And like I said before, I think at that point we're going to see some kind of digital currency, stuff like that, if you will, come in and take the place. And I've already, and I'll say again, now that we're on this stream, but they can go back to my other stream and how I mentioned about what I call was the quote unquote confiscation and what my thoughts were on how the actual confiscation was going to go and how it's actually not going to be a confiscation. It's going to be more of like you don't have an alternative. It's going to be more. I tell everybody, like, if you flash back to like 17 to 20 years ago when everybody had those bunny ear TVs that you had to take and move the antennas over here and hold on, move it this there, up, little to the right, stop, there's a signal. And if you blew on it, there it goes, and turn the dials and UHF and stuff. Everyone had those TVs, but then back in like, what was it, 2004, 5, 3, I don't remember what it was. They're like, everybody, we're going to a digital broadcast signal. It's going to be the greatest signal ever. Clearest pictures, you'll love it. You won't think twice about it. But you got a year and a half to buy these new TVs because your little bunny ear TVs are not going to work in a year and a half. You go turn them on, you're getting nothing but white snow, and you ain't building no snowman out of that TV. It's basically good for a Super Nintendo system and your beta VHS tapes. Basically, back then, it's all it was good for. And then you have to go buy the new TV. That's what's going to happen with the confiscation when they basically tell everybody their dollar bills are worth nothing. They're going to tell everybody like, yeah, turn them all in or turn your gold into like placeholders. Basically, this gold's worth $142,000 if you turn it into some exchange, the bank, the coin store, whatever fiduciary, whatever subsidiary part of the government they assign to turn this stuff in, whatever. They'll just give you credits on your little smart thing, whatever. Go to www.fednow.com and sign up on your Apple or iOS devices and Android Play stores and sign up now and get $400 for free journey. But everybody that has the gold and silver can turn it in for more credits. That's how I think it's going to happen. Again, I don't have a crystal ball. I'm not Nostradamus. I don't have the Marty McFly sports book from the future. I wish I did. I'd be making all my sports bet count and crushing and giving away free gold every day. But I don't have that. I don't have foresight. I just following the breadcrumbs, just whatever little bit of education I have in my head, just trying to go off of somewhat sound logic and just trying to figure out what they've got set for us. We're not going to have all the plans, but to those that stay informed, we'll be able to have a little bit closer idea what's going to happen to stay a little bit more ahead of the general public to be able to, to make a plan. And I always say, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
I think it's true.
Anyway.
So I'm going to come back to what you just said in a second, Shawn. I had a quick question for Silver Turkey, if you're still on here.
Sure.
Silver Turkey says they sold 10 ounces of gold to buy Bitcoin. The question I have for Silver Turkey is, why did you do that? Like, I'm just curious. Like, what was your thought process in doing that? Was it something you did a long time ago? Did you do that back when Bitcoin was at $17,000 or $10,000 or lower, or did you do that last week? I'm just curious to see when that happened. And are you pleased with the decision, or do you wish you didn't do that? I'm curious. So I'm going to leave that one out there. Now, what Shawn's saying, you guys, there's a lot of things that can happen. One thing I'll tell you, and this is an issue with gold, silver, and Bitcoin and cryptos in general. Governments like to control the money supply and the currency that's used within the borders. And one of the ways they've been able to do that is by forcing you to use a certain currency to pay taxes. Okay. We haven't always had income tax. That's a new thing since the early 1900s. But that's one of the ways that they can keep you into a system. Okay. So, in my opinion, the reason the Federal Reserve came to be and was to create a fiat currency because they knew that the Constitution wouldn't allow it, and they wouldn't be able to get enough votes to make an amendment because in the Constitution it's only gold and silver. Two, they then created the IRS. Three, they started income tax at 1% for the wealthy, and they said it was only going to be for the wealthy. It's to help pay for things in the country. If you look at the charts, it's also around the time that they started reducing the amount of tariffs that go into play. Okay, so tariffs started going down. And so what was happening is the global bankers, in my opinion, got to the point where they decided it was time for the American people to basically start um, paying them and funding all this stuff that they want to do. And so they were going to start draining the wealth out of America, and that's really when it started happening. And so one of the things we run into with things like gold and silver today, and even with cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin, is that the government's not going to allow you to have and get wealthy off of a system that's outside of their control and then be able to use that for everything. So that's why I can't go into the store and buy with silver at the price of silver. I can't go into the store and just buy stuff with it. You can't go into the store and buy Bitcoin or use Bitcoin to buy stuff, and you can't go in with gold or silver right now. They want to keep that money out of the circulation and being used to buy goods and services, pay taxes, things along those lines. Well, we have a lot of states. I think it's around 15 of the states that are starting to pass laws that could allow you to use gold and silver to pay taxes, and it can also state taxes, and it can also allow you to use it in certain other capacities. They're getting rid of capital gains tax for it as well. We might see the same thing happen with a handful of cryptos. We might see it happen with Bitcoin. So those are monies that are out of the system, but I can tell you in the long run, they're going to shut these things down. They're going to make it harder for you to hold and own these things. With crypto, you're dependent on having a network, having electricity, having the internet. All those things can be taken away. They can be turned off. And if you don't believe that, then you need to do some research. I know a guy that owns the entire fiber optic backbone for Seattle and Oregon and Northern California. It's one person, one company. They can turn that off, and there's no fiber optic network, which means there's no internet there. I guess you could go to dial-up. That's not going to work for cryptos very well. Elon Musk controls enough satellites in the sky for Starlink to have that be something that can be turned off by one group of people. And then most utilities, at least everything I know in the US, is quasi-government slash, privately owned. So it's kind of public-private, and those things can be shut down and you don't have electricity. So that's the biggest issue I have with cryptocurrencies is it's something that can be more easily taken away. So when people talk about $142,000 gold, and they talk about things like a confiscation that happened in 1933, honestly, I think if we're going to have another confiscation, um, it could be that we end up having a confiscation of cryptocurrencies, and we're using those to pay debt off. And it would be much easier to confiscate cryptocurrencies than it is to go to everybody's house and try to find out if they have gold and silver and take it from them. And by the way, that never happened in the first place. It was voluntary, but it was what the money was. Okay. It was what was in circulation. So, could we have another confiscation? We could. Um, could we have another revaluation? I think 100% we're going to have another revaluation. If we have another confiscation, I think it'll look different than the last time. I think it's mostly, I like what Andy Schectman says, it's probably mostly going to be the ETFs that they go after. And they're going to take the gold and silver out of there. It's very less likely they're going to touch the stuff in your house. And so I'm not as worried about that. Um, and when it does get to $142,000, or I guess just say if it gets up there, it kind of depends on how they do it and what happens. I don't think you're going to instantly have a huge amount of inflation necessarily because they have to go print new dollars, which they can do digitally. But they have to print new dollars and put them into circulation to actually cause the inflation. Just moving gold up to $142,000 does not cause inflation. That's just a new price for it. Countries can decide whether to uh, accept our dollars or not after we do that. They may decide, okay, the dollar's worthless, we aren't going to use it anymore. What causes the inflation is if they print more US dollars and they try to pay people off that way. So if you've got the gold, you do have more purchasing power right then. And that will start to cause price inflation shortly. Let's say everybody in your city has, well, maybe, okay, let's say wherever you live, let's say you have 10 ounces of gold and no one else has any gold. You now all of a sudden are well over a millionaire, and you could go out and go buy a really nice Mercedes. Okay. Well, now if there's 100 people in your town and there's only 30 Mercedes that are there, and there's no other towns around that you can go to get a Mercedes, for example, the Mercedes dealer. Okay, Mercedes is a bad example because they have a fixed price. Okay, let's talk another car. Something else that's expensive and nice. Okay, like a BMW. You may end up having to pay a huge premium on that BMW to get one of them. because there's 50 people that want them and there's only 30 of them, right? Even though your gold's gone up to 142,000 and the car may only be worth 70 grand in today's dollar, maybe you pay 200,000 for it to get it. Okay, that's just kind of a deal. But if you go and buy stuff that people aren't really looking after and there's not that much gold in your area, and you are able to take it into a coin shop and they are able to liquidate it, okay, which they might not be able to at 142,000, but let's just say hypothetically they can. That doesn't necessarily cause a massive amount of inflation. But to Shawn's point he made on Sunday, it may be hard for us to liquidate that until they create the new currency and you go on to the new currency and then all of a sudden it's no longer $142,000 an ounce of gold, it's 20 bucks. Okay. Something like that happens again.
Yeah, 20 credit. Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. But the consensus I'm hearing from a lot of people is it sounds like we are at risk of having cyber attacks on the banks. We're at risk of having bank runs. We're at risk of having the BRICS nation actually come through with the unit currency being backed by gold dump, and then we're at risk of having them dump their bonds that could cause us a lot of problems. And I think that's why you're starting to see Trump say if the BRICS nation creates a gold-backed currency, we're going to put 100% tariffs on. He's trying to hold them off a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And then they're also talking about going in to prove that we have the gold in Fort Knox. They haven't talked about any of the other depositories, like the New York Fed. They haven't talked about the Denver Mint. They haven't talked about the Philadelphia Mint, which I'm sure has gold too. And there's a handful of JP Morgan Chase has a massive gold vault. And then also the, I guess the San Francisco Mint would probably have some too. So we're not talking about auditing those places, but something's up. There's definitely some concerns and issues people are concerned about. And I think some of those things are going to cause. They're going to. Oh, now we got the echo. Okay, you talk, Shawn.
Did the aliens come put the echo back in? Or are we good?
You're going to have to finish the show.
Oh my God. Really? The aliens? I swear to God. They always come and take the signal anyway. So, but long story short, if you're buying gold and silver, good for you. If you thought about it, I highly recommend you do. It's not going to be a bad investment. You're gonna be thankful that you did it. Again, a couple points I'm going to make just to kind of reinforce what I kind of say. Stop worrying about the price, everybody. I don't mean to sound like an a-hole or inconsiderate. I'm just telling everybody, just stop. Stop the worrying. It's irrelevant. Unless you're a coin dealer that's flipping coins daily, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If you're buying to hold for future wealth, to give to somebody else in your family, or hold for an emergency situation, it doesn't matter. Just dollar cost average, buy when you can, stay on your budget, put it in the safe, put it in a way, put it in your backyard, put it under your dog's food bowl, whatever you feel comfortable, whatever, I don't care. Put it under the tree out front. Just keep buying it. It's you can't go wrong. If anybody has any questions about gold and silver, maybe they were shy to ask on here, or maybe just haven't thought about asking, whatever, feel free to email me or Surfer. I'm pretty sure our contact information's in there somewhere. And the little down below where you hit more in the little thing in the description, you know what I'm talking about. Yay, Smeagol.
Yeah. Do we have any mods on?
I saw OC was in there somewhere, and a couple other people were in there. When the chat pops in my side once in a while, and I'm looking down trying to see people.
Two channels to check out right now. Because we're going to end the stream.
Word.
One is Yankee Stack. He's got a great show. And one is Guido Stack. So if you're looking to buy some gold and silver, Guido's a great place to do it. He has great prices. That brings annoying.
Great deals at Guido. The signal.
Yeah, the signal's gone, guys.
Give me back.
Yeah, the Fed's coming after us.
The aliens, man, they came by again. They came back with they brought friends. I saw 3 saucers. They were like, I'm gonna take a signal. He don't need it. We need it for our space travel back home to Vega or wherever they came from. They were just coming to hear the Trump announcement. And they bought some gold and took it back to their country. They got a good deal. They bought gold at spot. Now they're taking it back to the Vegas store. Hey man, look what I bought at Earth. $3,000 gold. I'm a crazy guy.
All right, guys, we're gonna end this stream.
All right, guys, we're gonna end this stream.
But until next time, peace out.
Until next time, peace out.
See you, everybody. Thanks for coming.